To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And this is the first meeting of the new board after the election on March 12th. So we are welcoming new board members to the board. Lonnie Stebbins, congratulations on your election. And Gary Swanson, congratulations on your re-election to the board. Thank you. One of the first items of business we have to attend to. Hey Tim, there's some feedback. Chair of the Newmarket School Board for the 24-25 year. Nominations.
I nominate Gary Swanson for chair.
I second that.
Okay.
You want a write-in campaign?
Do we have any other nominations for chair of the school board? There being none, I will close the nomination process. So we have one candidate for the chairmanship, Gary Swanson. So I will just ask for a voice vote. All those in favor of Gary Swanson as chair of the Newmarket School Board?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. 5-0. Mr. Swanson, you are re-elected chair, so do you want to change seats?
No. Thank you. The next item would be the election of vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate myself.
Maybe. Anyone else interested? No?
I'm fine.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Second. Amy Tillman, the second of Tom Mazzaro. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Amy, you're abstaining for the record?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I can't, right? Oh,
no,
I
you
can
can.
vote. Oh, yeah. Aye, sorry.
All right. 5-0, unanimous. You are vice chair. Congratulations. Next up, we do have a few members of the public here. I'm presuming they're here for a class project and not public comment, but in case they're here for public comment, I'll open the floor for public comment at 6:03 p.m.
So I'll come at once.
Not seeing any
Shoot your
activity.
shot.
We've closed the floor at 6:03 p.m. We'll head right into student rep report. Sean.
All right, so I'll start off with sports, which have not started yet. So the baseball and softball team will both have their first game. They'll be on the 8th against PCA at home at 4 o'clock. Both of them, obviously, baseball on the baseball field, softball on the softball field. For SALT, they sent students to a Timberlane student leadership conference last week and had some great takeaways. And SALT is going to work towards implementing some of them into their club. Net Zero is installing the 8 granite benches that were donated to the school on April 5th. On April 15th.
Do you know where those are going?
Yeah.
I wasn't
No
aware
idea.
of that.
That's what Allison Burke told me.
Who donated them?
Very cool.
Also don't know. I told her to.
We have someone who has an inside scoop if you want. Dave, do you want to come up to the mic and inform the board and maybe the general public?
We're buying stakes and caution tape, and we'll be placing those around the school in the proposed locations. And then we'll ask Mr. Allen and Mr. Corman to take a look and make sure they're happy with the location. We're buying crushed gravel and setting them below the benches so that they'll be stable after frost uses mud. Who donated the benches? Honestly, I don't know. They predate me, but they've been sitting on a pallet behind the annex building across the street.
Never heard of it.
And I've been trying to come up with locations and where to put them, and thankfully Net Zero stepped forward and said they want to.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Forward.
Nice.
Excellent.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, the Interact Club is sending out signups for Newmarket Cares Day to all students this week. I don't know if everybody here knows what that is, but it's when the students in the school go around town and donate their day instead of doing school to do some community service. NHS is helping the Reach for the Top marathon on April 7th. They are also helping with the Easter egg hunt at the Rec, which is this Saturday, and there's something in NHS called Passion Projects, when each member of NHS selects a project that they are more passionate about. I did something relative to like acting in a way. It was Haunted Overload. I helped volunteer with acting with that. So people are finishing up those this weekend. And then the last thing I have is that the school play is coming up next weekend. That will be on the 5th and 6th of April.
What is the school play this year?
I don't know.
What could it be? What?
I have no clue.
Nicely done.
That was,
That's all I have.
Awesome, thank you very much. And go ahead right into superintendent report.
Thank you, thank you. And actually, I'm going to invite Mr. Corman to come up to the mic because I know there's a couple of items that are later in the agenda that he wanted to just quickly address, so I'm going to let him address those since he's here. So,
Good evening, everybody. I'm here again with 3 more field trips for your approval. First off is a project search trip down to Malden at a adventure quest, kind of a, well, yeah, you want to talk about it?
Well, it's a, I forgot to mention it. I had it in my notes, but I skipped right over it. And I just thought about it when he said it. So it's an escape room with multiple rooms. Last time I went, I was like 10. But it has like 30 rooms of different levels and different themes with different themes. Like there's a farm theme, like an army-like theme. It's physical, and some rooms are physical, some rooms are mental. And you basically get your card checked off every single time you complete a room. But there are each escape rooms in their own way. It's pretty cool.
very cool.
So that's the first one. The second one is an opportunity for our friends in Clue and other drama folks to go see Hadestown down in Boston in May. It's a traveling production. The Broadway smash hit is in Boston on the 23rd. And then the last one is our Mandarin class taking a trip to Chinatown in Boston to have an authentic experience, or as close to authentic as we can, engaging in cultural and food. Always get the invite. It's a tough time of year for me to go. To go down and spend the day in Chinatown, experience that. So those are the 3 current out-of-state trips I want to put before you for your approval.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Corman.
No problem.
So I have a number of things I wanted to just talk about tonight. One of the things that I often do is when something happens in the news that is an opportunity for us to learn internally, I often review it with my staff. And recently, you may have heard there was I'm not going to name the district, but there was a nearby school district that announced very late in the game that they had an $800,000 special ed deficit that was unexpected. And it really has had a dramatic impact on that district because, I mean, clearly $800,000 is a lot of money to suddenly realize you don't have the funds to cover it. And so it's led to a lot of conversations in that district about how to manage it. So naturally, I came back to my office, had conversations with Jana and Erica McNeil about, well, what if something like that were to happen in Newmarket? Like, how would we manage it? And first thing I want to say is I'm very confident something like that wouldn't happen in Newmarket. And there's a number of reasons why. Number one, we have people like Jana and Erica who are very carefully monitoring budget lines and knowing kind of where we're at. It would take a cataclysmic event to happen to have us reach March and not already have an idea that we were dealing with a financial pinch. So that's one thing I want to be clear about. The other thing, and this ties into the expendable trust funds that we support. One of the things that we have as a tool at our discretion is the trust fund for special education expenses, and the voters very generously put an additional $50,000 into that this year, so it's up to $350,000. So that's a tool that we have in our discretion.
can I ask you a question
Yeah,
about
go
that?
right
While I always thought we would only use that for something that was planned for, but it can be for emergencies?
No, it's specifically designed as for unanticipated special
Okay.
education costs.
I
That's
couldn't
what
remember for sure.
it's there for. So we have that, and then the other component, which is something you as a board decided to increase. Remember, you increased the retained fund balance from 2.5% to 3.5% this year, which is another tool that we have in our quiver to manage it. Obviously, best scenario is that doesn't happen, but we do have some financial tools to our avail. So I just wanted to mention that as because it speaks to the value of having sort of those trust funds, those rainy day funds for really the three things that are the most likely to be unexpected costs. Health, benefit costs, and by the way, that includes late in the game, New Hampshire retirement system increases, things like that, special education costs, and then obviously facilities. And I think we are thinking about those things in a way to hopefully prevent Newmarket from ever being on the front page of a newspaper with something like that happening. So anyway, I wanted to mention that because I do think it's important to learn from experience. Changing the subject to a different one, Sean, you were just mentioning earlier about the Eclipse Day. And I did want to just talk about that a little bit with the board. And actually, I was hoping to get a little bit of guidance from you on this. As I'm sure everybody is aware, on April 8th, there is an eclipse that is, it's going to be a total eclipse. Not in this area. In Newmarket, it's going to be about a 95% eclipse. It occurs. The time of totality here is between 3:27 p.m. and about 3:30. That's the period of totality. You probably have heard discussions around the region about how different places are managing it. So there are a couple of issues that are on my mind as I think about this, and I'd love to hear board feedback. One is the time of totality is right around 3:30. For the junior, senior high kids, they'll be long gone home or having made the decision to stay for the after party to watch the eclipse, one or the other. The elementary school kids on a normal school day, they would be on the bus at that time. And so one of the things that we have been discussing at the leadership level is, would it make sense to simply dismiss school a little early so that the younger kids would definitely be home by that time? Keep in mind that we do have an already scheduled early release day on April 3rd that has been in the calendar all along. So that's one issue that I'm thinking of, and I'd love to hear if board members think that that's a worthwhile way to proceed. The second thing that I'm also thinking about is because it's a big deal, absenteeism on that day may be an issue, and we are charting it. Right now, I talked with Andy, and I'm talking about staff for the most part in managing the school. Talked with Andy and Sean today, and I think right now we are okay, but obviously if lots of people chose to go up north to watch the eclipse, it would be difficult to keep the schools open. So that's an issue we're monitoring. The thing I guess I'm really looking for is, would you be generally supportive of the idea of an early release on that day specifically to make sure elementary school kids get home prior to the totality?
I certainly would. My concern would be the hardship that puts on certain parents, whether they don't have the ability to pick their child up or the ability to get home in time, so the child would have to stay and then have a hardship of getting the child. I don't know how we address that.
Right.
That would be my biggest concern.
And mine as well.
Yeah, mine too.
Would it be a full early release, or would it be just
No, I would be imagining, in just looking at the timing, if we dismissed at, say, 1:50 at the junior, senior high, that would get the junior, senior high kids home by no later than 2:30, and that way we could dismiss the elementary at 2:30, and that would get all of those kids home by 3:10, so they wouldn't be out necessarily or they would be with their parents to be able to view the eclipse.
I am not sure I'm for it or against it just yet, but just a threshold question. Can the bus company support this?
Yes.
On short notice?
Yes. Yep. The way it works, we have the drivers that we have are dedicated to Newmarket. The buses are dedicated to Newmarket. It's entirely our impact. The one bus issue that I already reviewed with Andy was SST in the afternoon, because one of the buses is doing that, but they're back at our school right around that time, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Sean just showed up. Can we put him on the spot about a question he has no idea what we're talking about?
Sean, do you want to be put on the spot? Come on.
We were just discussing the possibility of early release for students on the Eclipse Day for the elementary kids so that they could be in a better location to view it, whether that be at home or after school here. Our big concern is, I think, what kind of hardship that creates on parents, and whether there's certain parents who can't get their kids or wouldn't be able to be home in time.
Right.
And I know we've kind of had some pivots like this in the past.
Mhm.
Do you have a feel for how much we impact folks when we do this?
I think it's a little short notice, but I think we have enough time in general to get the message out that, I don't know if you're looking at it, is it a traditional early release or more?
What I would propose, Sean, would be dismissing the junior senior high at about 1:50-ish, so that you could be dismissed at 2:20 to 2:30, so the
Right.
kids would be arriving home 3:10-ish,
Yeah,
so it's before.
I think that's very reasonable, actually. I don't even, obviously I don't have children and working thing, but it is not that much of a difference because of the buses are usually rolling out of the school around 3:10, 3:12, so we'd have to accommodate for half an hour.
What's our longest route?
The longest route is, I don't know the route number.
But just in time.
Yeah, it's probably around 45 minutes.
Probably my kids get off the bus. I'm on the other side, on the Newfields end, and so they get home at like 3:47,
Yeah.
3:48.
So
So
it
that's
would have to be
about-
early enough to allow for that entire ride.
Yeah, so 1:50 at the high school would mean 2:20, 2:25 at the elementary.
So about a half an hour earlier than usual.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing from you is logistically, if we can figure it out, people would be open to it, but I think it sounds like just making sure communication is the big thing. So if I'm going to do it, I'll probably make an announcement tomorrow and push that out, so we'd have a full week and a half for people to know. Okay, all right. Thanks, thank you, Sean.
Good timing.
So anyway, thank you for the feedback on that, and I did want to acknowledge there's been some great educational opportunities in the district around the eclipse. I know there was a speaker here from UNH 2 days ago, spoke to all the middle school kids and a large share of the high school kids about the eclipse. So it really sounded like it was very well received, very positive experience for kids to learn. And then again, many of our classroom teachers are incorporating eclipse-related stuff into classroom activities. So it's definitely a good learning experience. Changing the subject, I did want to give just a brief follow-up. A couple of meetings ago, I highlighted a couple of legislative bills that were out there that were worthy of us kind of keeping an eye on. Give you a quick civics lesson. We're in that period with the legislature. It's called crossover. So basically the things that have passed the House are now coming over to the Senate and vice versa. And so you really get a sense of like, does anything really have legs at this point to become an actual law? So I had talked to you about a couple of them last 2 meetings ago. One was HB 1473, which was a law that would have prohibited using state and federal funds for SEL programming. That's looking like it's not on a path to pass. So and actually there's multiple other SEL related laws that are being discussed. None of them seem to have legs, but just I wanted to mention that it looks like that's not going to go anywhere. I did mention to you the last time there was a discussion about expanding eligibility for the education freedom accounts from 350% of the poverty level up to 500. It's looking like it's not going to, the 500 is not going to happen, so it's probably going to be 350%, which basically means a family earning $105,000 would be eligible for an education freedom account to allow them to use that towards other options other than their local public school. So that looks like it's likely to pass in that form. There was a bill I mentioned to you about the sex education stuff basically making, it was to do with notification of any sex ed related topics, and it's looking like that's not likely to pass. There already is parental notification laws. This was actually expanding the definition of what required parental notification. And again, it's not looking like it's going to go anywhere. So those were three that I had mentioned a month ago. It doesn't look like they're going to be impacting us, at least in this upcoming year. Another one you may have seen, there's a couple that have been in the news lately that you might have seen that I just wanted to mention as things worthy of keeping an eye on. There is HB 1205, which is a bill to basically say that biologically male athletes have to play biologically male sports, and that specifically biologically male athletes can't play in female sports, and putting a number of restrictions around how schools define co-ed and so forth. That is out there being discussed. There does exist the possibility that that's still alive. Speaking on behalf of Newmarket, that's a very low, there really aren't a lot of circumstances that we're dealing with that this is geared to it. It's really geared to some very narrow exclusions that people have experienced, and unfortunately it could have impacts, like for example if you had a young lady who wanted to play football, or if you had it doesn't impact Newmarket, but like for example if you had a field hockey team, you had a male that wanted to play in a field hockey, it would prevent schools from being able to do that. But anyway, that law is alive and well in the legislature, and again, it's your guess as good as mine, because right now the legislature is very evenly split. Yeah, everything seems to be split down the middle. And then just the last one I wanted to mention is there is a law that would be, it's concerning to me because it would potentially restrict teachers' ability to have open dialogue in the classroom, and it has to do with notification of families around gender identity related information. So for example, if a student revealed something to a teacher, the law would require the teacher to report that to parents. Clearly, the intent of it, I don't know what the intent of it is, but it would certainly impact how our teachers are able to work with our kids. So it's something to be aware of. And there's two versions of that are out there, and obviously in crossover, the House version goes to the Senate and vice versa. So keep your eyes on that one, but that's been out there. So any thoughts, questions on any of those? I know there's a lot of stuff, but trying to keep an eye on things and where appropriate, trying to lobby for the right thing. Questions, thoughts?
Just if you can refresh my memory, an education freedom account, $5,300 or something like that. Was that changing or is that static?
The number is
percentage,
still it changes every year. I believe it's in the low 5,000s right now. The what's at question is who's eligible for it and the income requirements to be eligible.
Thank you.
And then the last thing I'll mention, because I know I've talked a lot tonight, is our next meeting, because there will be a performance of Clue taking place in this space, will be next door in the library. So it's the same time and everything, but in the library. I know there was some confusion tonight because we changed our start time. 5:15 next Thursday, library. And then after that, all of our meetings will be here until it gets hot and we move back into the library because there's air conditioning.
So should we presume that the murder won't take place in the library?
Well, there's a whole
But you
crime
have a
scene
clue.
set up in the library, so it's possible.
right.
Possible.
Thank you very much.
Did you say next week? Next week or
Next week, yeah, we have a meeting next week, because remember, this one
Yeah, yeah.
was supposed to have been last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for Todd? Okay. Moving right along, we'll head into discussion items. First item would be correspondence. I've received some correspondence. Has anyone else received something like this share? No?
I think I was copied on the same as you.
Yeah.
Can I
So-
just go back, I'm sorry,
Yeah, of
to
course.
the play? I think it doesn't affect us at all, because it's Friday and Saturday.
No, they're doing a special performance
Oh,
for the
they're doing a
staff.
special.
It's like their last,
Okay, sorry, that's all.
yeah, Thursday afternoon, so yeah, they'll be in here.
Okay.
Thanks, Ian. So I actually have 3 items of correspondence. One is in concurrence with Dan and Todd, actually. We have some parents reach out regarding athletics and travel and what it means for participation in sports during travel. I had 2 people ask me if the budget was ever going to stop going up. I said I didn't think it would ever stop going up, but we certainly try to keep it as low as we can. One of them was on fixed income, and I did indicate that there's town programs to assist with that. She said she wasn't qualified. Joe Lamantina, the town council, happened to be here and overheard and was gracious enough to let her know that their town council is looking at revising the amount. So hopefully people with fixed incomes might be able to be better addressed and not be as impacted by budgets. And then there's the same person who asked, or one of the people who asked about the budget also mentioned that there weren't any speed limit signs in the school properties and suggested we get some. I thought there was, but she assured me there was not, and some people come through pretty quickly. I don't know if speed limit signs would help with that, but it wouldn't hurt.
You mean actually in the parking lots or on the main road?
I think on the on the roads and the, so you're going through the
We
parking
can
lot.
take, we can
15
certainly
or
take a look at
whatever.
that along with our safety people.
I will tell you that in front of the junior senior high school, it's highly enforced.
Yes.
As I see the Newmarket PD there regularly during hours where it's 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, I've had more than one occasion where I've had an early morning meeting and a staff member who was late getting to the meeting because of being stopped. Yes, it's real.
Any other correspondence? That's it? All right. Next up, we have our annual orientation / workshop that we need to schedule. We talked last session about trying to get it going as early as possible so that we can kind of get into our goals earlier, get our goals to the superintendent, and those goals can trickle down per normal. So I think we had proposed the 6th and the 13th was third time. I don't recall what days those are, to be honest.
Yeah, those are both Saturdays. Just to refresh your memory, this was something we started doing last year. We did it in May, I think, last year. But I think the idea was when we changed some of the policies, we wanted to get on it earlier. So it's a half day. We kind of talk through a lot of the happenings of the district, kind of give you a state of the union report, if you will, and then spend some time talking about what our goals are as a board, and then I don't know if there was going to be any discussion of the committees and that kind of thing, and what people would want to do with those.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do need to do committee assignments. I think the thought this year was we would discuss the committee assignments at this meeting. I don't see it's on the agenda, is it?
Yep, just board
Yep.
committees.
Oh,
yeah.
over there,
it
thank
is.
you. And that way kind of give Lonnie some time to digest the committees and solve maybe decide the next meeting.
And this is actually these are the committees and who has previously served in them. If we want to.
So right now, what you want is feedback on whether we go to the 6th or the 13th.
Yes, please. Sean, if you care what committee assignments are.
I would like this.
I'm either date works for me.
Yeah, I think I'm open either way.
Saturday, are we talking Saturday morning?
It's a Saturday morning, yes.
What's the time on it?
We did
Whatever
9 till
you-
1 or something last time.
We did some breakfast and then talked about lunchtime.
8 to 1, something, I don't remember, 8:30 to 1. No.
It would be your thing, so you can decide what it is. And I only posed those two because that's based on what we did last year. If there's different dates you wanted to consider, obviously that's up to you.
Anyone?
I'm available both of them, but if everybody is available both of them, I would probably prefer an extra week. Just
Sure. So 13 sounds like a preference. Is anyone? Is that all right with you? Yeah.
Saturday mornings are tough with extracurricular activities for children, but we'll make it work.
Yeah,
Either one.
sure.
So.
13th is fine with me.
And is there? I know mornings stink
It's
either
just-
way, but
yeah.
if we end by 12 or end by 1, is it?
No,
a preference
mornings
to
are
you?
probably the harder part, but that's fine. We'll make it work. Don't worry about it. They will live.
So 8:30 to 1, 12:30 to 1, something like that. Does that work?
Whatever you said.
Does that work? Amy, is that cool?
Yeah, that's
All right.
fine.
All right, so 13th, we'll say 8:30 a.m. some late,
8:30, you said?
yeah, like late breakfast, extensive coffee.
Lots of
Go
coffee.
to about 1 or earlier if we wrap up.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you. So, speaking of committee assignments, Lonnie, you can certainly go through these. We can discuss them in more detail. These are just who were on the committees last year. The vice chair automatically gets the honor of doing the representative to New Hampshire School Board Association. The budget committee has one representative and usually an alternate. Yeah, it was me last year. And that's Monday evenings, Dan, 6:30, once a month, 6:30.
Yeah, usually last Monday of the month at 6:30.
And then it gets a little bit heavy in budget season, obviously. Policy committee, that's new last year and has been very successful. Phil and Andrew doing that. And you had been meeting in the afternoon on Tuesday or something?
Thursdays, but
yeah.
flexible
Obviously that
according to
would
whoever's on
change,
it.
yeah. That's a pretty interesting committee, I think. Seacoast School of Technology rep, I think there was one meeting you went to?
I mean, it can be as often as monthly. When they're not in the process of looking at the budget or extending the agreement, it slows down a bit.
Let's see, we have staff development curriculum or committee representative. Jamie did last year, and what was that, once a month?
On the what committee, I'm sorry?
Staff development.
It's, yeah, once a month. Yeah.
Talked about the vice chair, board negotiating team reps for the support staff, which likely won't be very involved this year. Negotiations for the teacher association, which will be quite busy this year. We have a capital improvement committee, which is usually like a 6 week kind of sprint of weekly.
Yeah, we're trying to shift
yeah.
it so that it's like more regular course of like the spring through the fall, as opposed to the sprint in the summer.
And then we have a couple folks who just offer to go in and sign the manifest on days that we don't have a meeting, which generally we don't have that issue anymore, but it's good to have. And then we have a new town master plan committee member, which Phil has taken on, and I think it's going to be quite a long
Yeah, it's years.
commitment that I think we should all steer away from, except for Phil. Did you say that?
And also the health benefits committee, which I'm on.
Did I miss that? That wasn't on here.
Yeah, it's not on it.
That's a committee that will be
Yeah,
wrapping up
till
its work
June.
shortly.
Yeah, in June.
So Lonnie, certainly we can talk about that. You can call and ask me questions if you want, just to understand it better.
Okay.
Then maybe next meeting we can decide. Everyone all right with that?
Mhm.
Great. All right, we do have a couple requests for proposals.
And Janet and Dave are here to
especially
discuss
Dave,
those.
yeah, do you want to come up and present those?
Thanks, Sean.
Oh, I'm sorry. You missed all my lousy jokes.
He's been hysterical.
Wouldn't say
for
they
those of you who
missed
weren't
him.
laughing.
Yeah, that's true.
You're laughing when you're joking and not when you're not.
Yeah, that's true.
Does the board want us to go in any particular order or kind of
Nope.
just talk in general senses?
Whatever works for you.
All right, well, how about this then? I'll turn it over to Mr. Riley.
That's how it is, okay.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So we did do a number of RFPs. One was the HVAC preventative and on-call services. We decided to go, or we decided to recommend Northern Peabody LLC. They're the people who are currently doing those services for us. They had very competitive pricing, and they've just taken great care of us, provided great service, so we'd like to recommend that we continue. The next one is on-call plumbing services. And again, these are 3-year, and we are recommending Northern Peabody. Again, they have very competitive pricing, and they're the ones who are currently doing it for us. They take very good care of us.
Which one are you on?
It's out of
Yeah.
order
It's
with our
out of
packet.
order.
It's not in order with our packet.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
didn't
That's
realize
okay.
you ordered their
No, that's
packet.
Okay, so we're on plumbing?
That's my fault.
So the
Yes,
first,
we're on on-call plumbing.
so the first one was on the second page. That was the HVAC.
Yes.
Yep, I have that.
Okay.
Okay, so
And then
now we're
plumbing
on
is the third.
the plumb, okay.
on page 6,
Yep.
5.
And that's, again, Northern Peabody. They are a large enough company that they can, come out on emergencies. They've taken very good care of us. They've been here until 10 o'clock at night fixing leaks. we've just been very happy with their service, and their pricing is very competitive. The next on my list is stormwater maintenance services, and this is inspections and maintenance of our stormwater systems, the drainage systems for the parking lots, that sort of thing. And we currently use it and would recommend that we continue to use. I missed a page. Stormwater Compliance LLC. They come out quarterly and inspect our systems and make recommendations for any improvements or repairs we need in that system. And again, very happy with their service. And then we have landscaping services. This is one that we are recommending a change. Going to York River Landscaping. They have fantastic references. They do a number of schools. And they were very happy to change the scheduling. Currently, our lawns are being mowed during the school day. And that's very problematic and very disruptive. Part of this RFP was saying that can't happen anymore. So that'll be weekends or outside of school hours. And again, they have very competitive pricing. And it will allow us to better educate. Anything that inhibits our ability to put education in young minds is an issue. And the landscaping had been an issue.
Kind of surprised that the pricing, the bids on these were so uppity.
Yeah, it's like,
I don't get that.
We were surprised too, and just so that you know, we had mandatory walkthroughs. We had people come on site and we actually showed them the scope of work. So we were a little surprised at the variance. I don't know if maybe some of the other bidders maybe were anticipating performing more services more mows than we typically do. I really can't explain it. But yeah, there was a very wide variance between the highest and lowest in that bid.
I guess, you said York River is highly recommended, which is fantastic. Were there other that were just as highly recommended that were significantly more expensive, or is it for York River also the highest recommended?
The lowest bidder was actually the one for landscaping.
Yeah.
The lowest bidder was actually the one we selected. The next most competitive one was our current provider, which we've been very happy with. But it was a little bit. It was about $10,000 difference from what we had, and part of the work we did. We obviously had a great relationship with them, but we're really trying to figure out ways that we can economize and still get the job done here. And so this is part of why you go out to bid, is to see what the market rates are for different things.
I'm all about economizing. But are we concerned about leaving a vendor we know for what ultimately is not a big dollar amount for an unknown?
The references for the unknown are fantastic.
Okay.
There's a number of schools, and they really could not be happier with this vendor. I don't want to say anything bad about the vendor we currently have. They're fantastic. They take good care of us. They meet our special requests. As an example, we were considering doing graduation outside, and they were ready to come in and make sure the grounds were pristine for graduation. I mean, they really have been good. But every penny I save here, we can either take off the budget, give it back to the taxpayers, or I can reinvest in our schools.
I totally get it. I just want to make sure that we're not being.
That factor did play in, though, as we were kind of considering the HVAC and plumbing, because as you know, when you have a forced hot water system, HVAC and plumbing, the line between those two is fairly blurry. So it's difficult if you have two different providers with those services. That the provider that we chose was a little bit higher than our unknown, but to Dave's point, they know our systems. We have had excellent service from them. They were one of our bidders that held their pricing for us during one of the years. So it was close enough. Like if it was a big variance, we may have had a different discussion. But it was close enough that we felt that going with the known in that case was.
I don't want to fly too far below our revet, but I was just curious as far as, and it's a minor item, obviously, but for landscaping services, it's strictly mowing, or do we look at extending our kind of our grass to weed ratio, or?
Well, part of the problem is we have no irrigation.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to get a good, healthy lawn going.
Sure.
It does include the weeding of the flower beds.
Oh, wow.
A big part of the labor is edging, right? Especially with our new playground and the amount of fencing there. So it is primarily mowing, it's spring and fall cleanups, it's edging. We do ask them to do a pre-emergence to help, our weed to grass ratio, but it's very difficult without irrigation
Sure.
to really get a golf course sort of lawn going.
Yeah, we certainly don't want that. Great, thank you very much. Any other questions? Awesome. Great. We'll head right into Janet. Do you want to stay and just go over the MS-22? I think we've already all signed it, but if you want to give us a quick discussion on it.
Sure. Buried in here. So the MS-22, as you know, and Lonnie, if you have any questions, let me know because you're new to this, but there are certain forms that we have to file with the Department of Revenue every year that are part of our budgeting process. So after the budget's approved, the very first form that we file in the springtime is the MS-22. So basically this aligns with what was voted on the ballot by the voters of Newmarket. It is in a format that we don't have a lot of discretion over. It's dictated by the state, obviously. So we present it to you in the same format as how we will report it to the state. So, in some, I have another piece of paper here with my listing, and I'm sorry, it must be mixed in RFPs.
We have, do you need a copy of it?
Do you want to?
We have it in the file.
We have
For
it.
you?
We have it
No,
signed
actually,
for you.
there it is. I've got it. It was just stuck in between. Sorry about that. So in summary, basically, the amounts on the MS-22, they tie to the warrant. So the warrant operating budget, which passed, was $27,772,282. So that's the first number. You then add in any amounts that were appropriated on separate warrant articles. So we had $200,000 added to our capital reserve for capital improvement, $75,000 to insurance and benefits expendable trust, and then we had $50,000 to special education expendable trust. So when you get to the bottom, the total on the MS-22 is $28,097,282. And this is a form that's due to the Department of Revenue by April 1st. So we're hoping you have a copy to sign in your orange folder.
They
If
are
you could make
all
sure
signed.
you're all signed. That would be
It's all signed. Yeah, Marty, that's a good point. We need to make sure you sign that if you didn't, if it had Andrew's name. We just need to.
Amy needs to as well.
So does anyone have any questions on the MS-22?
So, remind me, the MS-22, how does this information relate to how our tax rate is set? Does this like somehow go into that calculation?
So if you think of it as a cycle, the whole
Yeah.
tax rating setting thing as a cycle, this is the appropriations side
Right.
of that. So this tells us what we are definitely obligating the taxpayers to in the fall.
Right.
The other component that goes into our tax rate is what's left from the current year that would go back to the tax rate, offset tax rate and our revenues. So the tax rate is actually going to be set in the fall, and it's set based off the residual from this year, the amount we appropriated for next year, and any revenues that come in.
So then why is warrant article 4 and 5 on here, since those were not to be raised from the taxpayers, but be drawn from the remaining fund balance?
Because they would be included in the prior year's appropriated balance. Basically, we approved a large amount of money, and if money was left from that, we funded those articles. So that amount had already been appropriated. That's why there's no tax impact when you draw from fund balance, because basically
It just doesn't go back to the
you've
taxpayer.
seen all the
Yeah.
tax impact in Article 2, which is the operating.
But if the amount of appropriations here is going to enter into the tax equation, and maybe this just I should come to your office and get a whiteboard and understand it more. Like it feels like that's getting almost double counted.
No, because the tax impact is based off of the we already have the money that was appropriated as part of this current fiscal year's. By the end of the year,
Right.
we'll have that. We already have it. And if we return it, the piece that we would return is an offset to next year's appropriations. So that's why there's no tax impact for funding those articles, because technically, if we had spent every penny of what we had appropriated, we've already absorbed that tax impact.
I'll just come by because I think I need to see it written out on a whiteboard. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you so much. All right, we'll head right into some donation acknowledgements.
Yeah, so there was, we have one donation, I just mentioned, that was received from NCEP for the Junior Senior High Wellness Day for a guest Raspberry the Turtle. $618.09 was donated to fund Raspberry the Turtle for Wellness Day. So
That's fantastic.
yeah, so thank you to NCEP.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we're going to head right into action items. So, Lonnie, we've already done the first read on these policies. When we do a read, we don't actually go through and read them all. We just put them on the agenda and put them in materials to acknowledge them. Obviously, people can read them at their own leisure. So with that, I'd seek a motion to approve the policies as presented: DFA investments, DGA authorized signatures, DGD school district credit card, DH bonded employees, DJE bidding requirements, DKA payroll procedures, DKC expense reimbursements, DM cash and school buildings, DN equipment and supplies sales and disposal, EF food services management, GCG part-time and substitute professional staff employment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Dan Smith, second by Bill Lazaro. Is there any discussion on these?
I feel like Jana worked hard to ensure these are all in alignment with law and everything, and we dug through all of them as a policy committee and support the adjustments.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, those pass. We'll head right into the March 7th minutes and seek a motion to approve the March 7th, 2024 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Amy. Any discussion or corrections?
There was one I had.
Yeah, I do have a minor one. I was hoping to add, I lost it, but Sean's title to the participants in the meeting. So it'd be student representative, Sean Vincent, just to clarify it for future readers. All right.
It was minor, but I don't have them in my packet, so it's okay. It was just a minor thing.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Any abstentions? You just abstained, Lonnie, since you weren't here. Awesome. One abstention. Thank you. Seek a motion to approve the fiscal year 25-27 RFPs as presented tonight.
So moved.
Motion by Dan Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Amy Tilton. Any discussion on those? Any questions? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Manifests. I'm fortunate enough to have those tonight. I move we approve the manifests and payroll for March 28th, 2024, totaling $1,600,262.98.
Second.
Motion by Gary Swanson, second by Phil Nazaro. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Pass. Do you have a personnel matter regarding contracts? Do you want to discuss those?
Yeah, why don't I just give you a quick overview? And I would preface this by saying, if board members have any specific questions about any individual contract, I'd request that we do that in non-public. But just broadly remind people, last year we engaged in a salary study to take a look at all of our positions. Our goal was to make sure Newmarket salaries were competitive. We've actively worked to keep our salaries in the top 25%. This year we did a review of where we were at and made adjustments where appropriate. You will also note that for what we would call senior leadership, we are we're offering 3-year contracts. So for principals, central office administrators and directors looking for 3-year contracts. The logic in that is if you can keep the band together long enough, you can maybe produce a really good album and be successful. So the goal is to keep the team together long enough to really be able to accomplish some things. So that's the thought in the 3-year contract for senior leadership. As I mentioned at I did share a memo with you about the change in role for the Director of Curriculum Instruction, proposing it being converted to an assistant superintendent position. There's a memo from the February 15th meeting that I shared with you and we discussed at that time. So that's all represented here, and I would look for, I would certainly answer any questions from the
So how does that change her role? I know, obvious is that she could stand in for you if she had to and do your duties, but as far, how is that going to affect her PD stuff?
In many ways, I think the
Curriculum.
biggest change is one that is more acknowledging the reality of how she is used. The role of a Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment is primarily a curriculum administrator role, and the role that in a small district like ours that is requires more operational type responsibilities like managing grants and working with building level principals around operational things. But yes, the other piece is the ability to have that role fill in for me should I not be available. It also, one of the other things I probably should mention too is one of the things we've been trying to do is to create a deep bench so that when transitions happen, which they inevitably do, there are people out there that have the skill sets to keep the organization moving forward. So that's also part of it.
Were the 3-year contracts well received?
Yeah, very, very much so. I think people appreciate the idea that showing confidence that we recognize the good work that's happening and we want to see it continue. So yes, it was definitely well received, and I think it's there's different ways to give people validation in their positions, and certainly one way is compensation, but another way is to say we want you to stick around long enough to really make a difference, and I think that's an important message that we've tried to send.
What is the wellness coordinator?
Well, actually, that's a position that we have long had in the district, and it was always a stipended position assigned to various people. Last year, Jamie Hayes very kindly agreed to take it on in addition to his duties, and so we paid him a $3,000 stipend to do that. It made sense, since he's in an administrative role, just to roll it into the job and make it a part of the position. So he's simply taking on a role that had historically been handled in a separate way.
So we can ask questions in the next meeting, correct, on these? Are we
It's actually under
specifically?
action item, so he was
It
hoping
is.
to get them approved. I think we have to put them by when?
Or if we want to talk specifics, we have to go to
Well, if we want to go in and talk specifics about it, I would prefer to, if we want to get into specific contracts, I'd prefer to do it in non-public, but you can approve these whenever you can take action whenever you're ready.
So I guess
So that it's not,
if you're questioning a position in general, about whether we need a position or not, that probably should be in public. But if you're questioning whether this person is the right person for that role, or should be 3 years, or anything like that,
Right.
obviously we want to do that.
yeah, I think I would like to.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, we can definitely do that. We have a couple other action items. If the board's okay with it, we can move past that particular item and go into non-public and discuss it. But approve the out-of-state field trips, if that's okay. So I'd seek a motion to approve the 3 out-of-state field trips.
And actually, there's one additional one that for some reason didn't get on the agenda, and actually, isn't there another one at the elementary school? Yeah, the hot school jump rope team. Yeah. And actually a second grade PE trip.
Yeah, there's actually 2 out of
Oh,
state.
it's on the back. Oh, no.
There's like
Yeah,
2.
2 out of state
Oh,
field
this
trips
is 2. I didn't realize this was.
coming up. Nancy Miller is taking the demo hot shot team just across the border to South Berwick, to the Central Elementary School. They're doing 2 shows there as part of the American Heart Association affiliation that we have there. I fully endorse it. I mean, it's a great program. The kids of Newmarket get a lot out of it, and I think it's just really representative of one of the fine programs that we have here at Newmarket and the kids that we have here at Newmarket. So she would like to be able to take those kids on that trip. And also Nancy Miller again. She is doing her annual hike of Mount Agamanticus for the second grade on May 17th. And we're just looking for approval of that. This is something that she has done as long as I've been in the district. Fantastic trip, and I don't know if you've been out to Mount Agamanticus lately. They have updated it a lot, and there's a lot more for the kids to do there, and it ties in nicely not only to physical fitness, but also some of the second grade science units as well. So those are the two that we're looking for.
All right, so I seek a motion to approve the 5
So-
state.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe I don't have the most up-to-date copy of the materials because the Mandarin,
The Mandarin trip
Isn't-
wasn't included, but it was
Okay.
discussed.
all right.
Yeah,
So, yeah, technically. it's
So
not
So
there's-
five in
there's
total,
five,
Five in
right?
total.
Three
Correct.
for the high school and 2 for the elementary.
Okay.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Dan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Yeah, I should have got it in under discussion, but, thank you to the teachers who are sponsoring these trips. They are a great opportunity for the
Absolutely.
kids to get out and see things in the field.
With that, I seek a motion to go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A32 C to discuss student matter and the contracts.
So moved.
Motion by Dan Smith.
Second.
Oh, excuse me. Second by Amy. No, sorry. Second by Amy Tilton. By roll call vote. I'll get there, folks. I'm new at this job. Tonight.
It's my first day.
Yeah, by roll call vote, Phil Nazar,
Aye.
Lonnie Stebbins,
Aye.
Dan Smith,
Aye.
Gary Swanson, aye. Amy Tilton.
Aye.
All right, folks, with that, we are in non-public session at